Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Life in Motion. I'm your host, Grace Becker. I'm a licensed mental health therapist and an enthusiast of life. And I'm always so excited to have you all here with me, especially today, for no particular reason, but I'm just excited to have you all here with me today. I was trying to think of stuff, like, you know how I always do a little banter at the start of every episode? I was trying to think of something that I wanted to talk about, and I'm really not too sure. Besides maybe like the obvious, you can see that I'm not recording in my typical spot today. Just switching it up a little bit, but do not worry. The quality is still going to be the same. High quality that you've been getting every episode. Well, for most episodes. There's been some rough patches in the past, if you know what I mean. But yeah, other than that, I really don't know what else new there is to update you all on. This coming weekend, I always record ahead of time, y'all. So you're not going to see this for a while yet. But this coming weekend, then towards the end of June, my mother and her fiance, y'all, my mom has a fiance. This is crazy. P.S. Mom, if you're listening, congrats, girl. But they're going to come up and they're going to help me pack up I already packed up my place, but they're going to help me move all my stuff. And I'm really excited to see them and to spend time with them, to get moved out of my house and into my home with Jaden. So, not a whole lot to update. I feel like I've been kind of preparing y'all for this move for a long time. So I'm really excited. I'm especially excited because our house is 2-bedroom and we're gonna turn one of the bedrooms into a podcast studio. It is gonna have another bed in there for guests, but the room is pretty big, so the bed will be like kind of in one corner, and then I'll have my podcast studio set up in another. So I'm really, really excited for that. It will be nice to have a place to put like all my stuff and, just to go to all the time, have a more professional setting. It's not really ideal to have to do this on like my bed, so I'm really excited for that. But honestly, like there's really not too much to talk about. However, today's episode, I'm going to be talking a lot about a personal experience, as well as throwing in some just like education, right, about negative body image and body dysphoria. So today we're going to be talking about those two things. It's something that honestly affects so many people. And I don't know, I would go to say that everyone on this earth has something about themselves at one point that maybe they don't feel entirely confident in, or they have a negative feeling towards. And so I feel that this is something that a lot of people can relate to, and I'm a little nervous because I also wanted to share my personal story. And you know how it is when you share anything on social media that's personal, especially something that I'm still kind of navigating through. I'll talk more on it, but it's something that I had felt that I had kind of processed, expressed, and worked my way through, and I was in a really good place. And then recently I had something that just kind of knocked me down quite a bit, and I've been doing okay. I've been doing okay since, but I want to share that with you guys, and hopefully this will help some of you out there if you also have ever struggled with body dysphoria or just negative body image in general. So before we get into kind of like my personal story and, more with like how to cope with it, kind of the roots of body image, and how it can take an emotional toll on a person and how to kind of rebuild your self-perception, I just want to give a little bit of background about what the key differences are between negative body image and body dysphoria, because there is a difference between the two. Negative body image is the persistent dissatisfaction with one's appearance. So, and when I looked up these terms, it does say persistent in there, dissatisfaction with one's appearance, but I would say that even if it's not a persistent, right, and I don't know what they mean by persistent. Does that mean every day? Is this something that, occasionally happens? But I would certainly go to extend that it's not just something that you have to wake up every day with. Sometimes people wake up one day and they feel like a rock star baddie, like they're looking good, they're feeling confident, they're feeling attractive, they're feeling good in their own skin. And then the next day, for no apparent reason, you can just feel the complete opposite about yourself. But it is usually a dissatisfaction with one's outward appearance. And it can affect, like your inner self, right? Like your identity and how you choose to interact with the world and with yourself. But it usually starts with that outward appearance that people struggle with, a part of themselves. So that's a negative body image. Body dysphoria is a little bit more detailed than that, though. It is a deeper, emotionally distressing kind of disconnect that a person can have between how they perceive themselves and their body and how it actually is in reality. And it can be related to other things like gender dysphoria, and it can also exist outside of that context as well. So the key difference between the two is that body dysphoria is a deeper, emotionally distressing disconnect between how someone perceives their body versus how it actually is. So it's just kind of like a negative body image, but on steroids, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of just the background behind it. And y'all, there are so many things that can affect how a person perceives themselves, whether it is that negative body image or body dysphoria. And, just like heads up as I go about talking about these different things, if I say because kind of saying negative body image and gender dysphoria is kind of a mouthful, just know that unless I tell you explicitly, I am talking about both of those things when I'm talking about this topic today. Unless I tell you otherwise, that the differences between the two. But what are the root causes of these body image issues? Well, there's a lot of things that can influence it. The first one, right off the bat, social media, girl. Social media influence and unrealistic beauty standards. I don't know about all of you, but I certainly have gone down that spiral on social media, whether it's on Instagram or it's on TikTok, looking at all these it girls, looking at these girls with these, beautiful curves, looking at these women with flat stomachs, and even further than that, researching, how to get rid of that belly pooch on your stomach, how to get rid of your bat wings, how to clear up your skin, how to make your hair more shiny, how to do all of these things. And I think a lot of times when people think of these negative body images, they immediately go to a person's weight and, their body shape, which is certainly something that, that's part of what it is, but it can be more than that. It can be, your skin. If you have eczema, if you struggle with acne, if maybe you have, patches, somewhere on your skin, a skin condition, it could be really anything. It can be your hair. It can be, your hands. It can be your face shape. Or if you feel puffy, it can be your breasts. It can be all sorts of things that, a person could kind of find on their appearance and nitpick. So it's not just about weight and body shape. There's a lot of ways it can be influenced. And depending on how you identify, there's standards for you based on, unrealistic expectations, because, how I perceive the current beauty standard for women, and that's what I identify as a woman. It's you have to have big boobs, you have to have a big butt, you have to have a slim, flat stomach, you have to have long, shiny hair, your skin has to be clear, and not just clear, it has to be soft. Has to be baby soft, because if there's any blemishes, if there are any bumps, then it is not perfect, and if it's not perfect, then you are ugly. And that's just kind of how I view the current beauty standard for women. Some people might view it differently, right? And this is all going to be perceived as well on just like your experiences in life. Maybe if you were also teased about something from an early age or throughout your life, or if maybe there were comments on your looks in the past. I know that there's some people out there who, like, they've gone on dates and people that they've dated have made comments about the way that they look on dating apps or even when they go on a date. If you were teased or bullied by anyone in your family, low-key, I can relate. I don't know if my sister listens. Love you, Danielle. But I don't know if she remembers this, but I've struggled with acne for a long time. And when I was 11 years old, when my dad had passed away, I remember, and it's related to it. I'm not just like bringing that up. But I had she called it my horn is what my sister called it. But I did have like a very large, like almost, I don't know, cystic, like TMI for people if this is bothersome. But like acne on my like forehead by my hairline. And it was really like, from what I can remember, it was really just that one. And I don't know why it happened. I honestly think it was caused from all the emotional distress, the really poor eating, the really like lack of hydrating myself after my dad passed, that really just made that thing fester. And I remember like I'm going about trying to grieve my dad, and my sister is like keeps talking about it, you know, and she also would always talk about my eyebrows. I have a lot of hair, y'all. I am a hairy girl. And I used to have a unibrow. I know, jump scare. Maybe if I'm feeling bold, I'll post a picture of my younger self with my freaking unibrow. And she would always kind of make fun of me for that. But then I remember when I shaved it, and then she made fun of me for having a gap between my eyebrow. And then, you know, okay, bringing it back, Grace. We're getting off derailed here. ADHD brain. But the eyebrow was one thing. And then I remember she would also make fun of my horn, right, that she called it. And right before my dad's funeral, okay, I'm not going to trigger warning because this gets gross for real. Like, if you can't handle this, just like skip like 10 seconds ahead, or like 30 seconds ahead. But she went to go pop it the day of my dad's funeral. And, oh gosh, I almost want to gag just telling this. But it popped. It landed partially in her mouth, y'all. Oh, it's so gross. I'm so sorry for all of those who listened to that with me. I didn't like saying it. If you're a skipper, don't worry, we're good now. You're in the clear. But it was pretty gross. And I just remember feeling like an absolute horrible person, just like feeling gross, feeling, you know, just bad about myself and the way I look, while I'm also trying to grieve. Guys, I might get emotional talking about this. I can do it. But yeah, early childhood experiences. So it can be influenced by a lot of things. Of course, teasing. I don't really have a whole lot of memory from being teased as a kid about in my appearance. I'm sure people talked crap about me behind my back, but fortunately enough, like I mostly didn't hear about it. And if I did, I don't remember it today. So thank God for that. But you know, being bullied by other kids, being bullied by your siblings, you know, I definitely was bullied by my sibling. It definitely affects your body image and how you look at yourself. It can also be formed by just family dynamics and generational like body talk. You know, body image is kind of an odd thing in my family. Growing up, if I would like make a comment about my body, a lot of times it was shut down and I was told I'm beautiful. Like, oh, like, don't say that about yourself. You're beautiful, you know? And I don't know about any of you, but I never said I was ugly. I just said that, you know, I felt fat, or, oh, I don't like my acne, you know, like different things like that. And so it's just interesting, you know, rather than making space for my feelings and my thoughts or trying to help me process that, it's almost like it was just uncomfortable to talk about for other people. So it was shut down right away. And it definitely affected my ability to cope with like later body image and body dysphoria issues. So if any of you can relate to that, or maybe your family was the extreme opposite, where it was talked about and it was pointed out, and they would make you known to you that it was a flaw. Almond mom is kind of a popular trending thing on social media, are usually very like thin women who they'll show what they eat in a day, or maybe they'll show the activities they do. And most that I've seen, it's women who are, literally eating almonds, who are eating like an orange, who are maybe having like a light salad for dinner, and all these different things. And they'll also show their moms in the exercise they do. And it's like really crazy exercise movement, which great for them. It's usually like pickleball and swimming in the pool and going for a half marathon run and, playing tennis and doing all these things. And I am just like, oh my God, like it doesn't do great for me in like the way I think about myself. So I don't know if anyone else out there can relate, or if anyone's moms are like that, or just like family members that are like that, right? It doesn't have to be just a mom. It could be a father too. It could be a sibling as well. But your family dynamics and like generational body talk, like the way people choose to talk about their bodies, is very impactful. I know some cultures, they celebrate like a woman's body, for example, and their ability to provide and to nurture humans, or to provide humans, to create humans and to nurture them. And they celebrate that. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I certainly wish that was something that I could have grown up with, is learning to accept my body and to understand all the beautiful things that it does for me. But right, there's a lot of different things that go on that can intersect with a person's body image. So getting more into it, let's talk about, kind of the effects that come into, and like the signs and symptoms that come in with body dysphoria, negative body image. And then I'll share my personal story with you guys that happened recently that kind of inspired this episode. Okay, so body dysphoria, it's more than just a dislike for your body, right? Which is kind of the negative body image. It can cause intense emotional distress, as we discussed earlier. It can cause disassociation with yourself, and you can also have the obsession over perceived flaws. And it can be tied to, like I said, different like gender identity, gender dysphoria type things, but it can also exist independently from that. And what I mean is it could be with like a specific, like skin issue, your weight, your hair, like body parts, body shape, face shape, all those types of things. So there's different ways it can be linked. Some key signs and symptoms to look out for that maybe hint at that you are struggling with this and may want to seek out professional help is if you are like consistently mirror checking yourself, right? I know for me, sometimes I will catch myself like lifting up my shirt, looking like, do I see any rolls? Do I see any weird, like, I don't know, skin things? I don't know. Looking, am I tan enough? Am I pale? All these different things that, a person can look for. It could also be avoidance. If you are intentionally avoiding mirrors or, camera rolls or whatever it is, so that you don't have to look at your double chin. So you don't, have to be faced with the way that you look at your body, right? The way you perceive your body. It can also kind of create this depression or anxiety around one's appearance. I know that in the past for me, it definitely did both. Like I would be anxious in social settings. I remember like messing with my t-shirt all the time. I would always freaking like sit with a pillow in front of me, like how I have my Jerry with me right now, because I didn't want people to see my stomach. Like if I like sat down, I didn't want people to see, like rolls, and I'm still struggling with it because clearly Jerry's here with me right now. You know what I mean? yeah, so it can definitely create an anxiety around like social settings and how you behave and the thoughts you have, right? Like it is often tied to kind of these catastrophizing thoughts of, oh my God, like I have like stomach rolls. Oh my God, I have stretch marks. Oh my God, I have acne. Oh my gosh, my hair's frizzy. No one is going to ever love me. I'm going to end up alone. I'm going to die alone. The only people who are going to love me are my cats. But if I die, my cats are just going to, eat my body to keep themselves alive. And they're just, I'm going to become their own personal litter box, It can certainly lead to some of that irrational thinking down the road. It can also lead to a lot of depression. I know a lot of people who especially will struggle with self-harm. And if you struggle with self-harm, with suicidal ideation, really any of this, please seek help because you're not alone in it. And, your body does amazing things for you. And I'm sure you've heard all these things before of like your body digests food for you to help you grow. Your hands and your arms help to like touch and nurture the people you love. Your feet help bring you, and your legs bring you to places that you'll see. All these different ways that you can choose to love yourself, choose to accept your body, because it is amazing and it does do a lot of beautiful things, and we are far harder on ourselves than we need to be. So definitely get help for that. Another thing too with this is it can lead to disordered eating as well. I didn't plan on spending too much time on that. That's probably a whole nother episode I would like to do on the podcast, but it can lead to some disordered eating or compulsive behaviors. I know in the past I used to really struggle with binge eating and, just like going hours without eating anything, and then I would just get so hungry and then I would like binge on my food. And you can purge it sometimes by like forcing yourself to throw up, or you can also like do a lot of excessive exercise. I have a memory of trying to force myself to throw up, but I hate throwing up and it feels so gross to throw up. This was also like in high school, so this was a long time ago. I don't do this, like I haven't done this in a long time, but I would do like the excessive exercise. So I'd be like up in my room late at night doing ab workouts to try and get my to try and like work off the food that I had eaten, or I would go like on bike rides to try and work off whatever calories I had, so it was definitely a negative outlook with both movement and food and the way I looked at my body. So it can kind of lead to some of those things. And if you relate to any of this, please go see a therapist, see a counselor, meet with a dietitian, meet with someone who is educated and who's trained in this area, like specifically, because, everyone has their niche. Like I'm a therapist, yes, and I help people with like mental health diagnoses. However, distorted eating is kind of one of those specialty areas that I do not feel confident in that, I mean, to like treat. I will almost always refer out if a client's like, this is something that's really big and I really need to work on it. I will talk about it with the client, and I will, we will dive into how they feel about themselves, how that affects their life, and all these different things. But when it comes to like actually trying to like treat it, I don't know if that makes sense, if that's coming across how I'm hoping it does. That is not an area that I am trained in, specialized in. But I know there are plenty of therapists who are, who do specialize in that area. Kind of the same with like addiction, right? Like I don't work with rehabilitation. I don't do addiction counseling. I'll talk about how your addiction has affected your relationships with you. I will talk about how it's affected, your job and the way you think, the way you feel, but I'm not going to treat your addiction. I hope that makes sense. Like if it's coming across, the way I mean it to, but kind of similar to that. But these things take a huge emotional toll on us, y'all. It impacts our daily life. It can lead to avoiding social situations. It can lead to like excessive like hyperfixation with the way you look. Maybe like consistently changing your clothing and intimacy. People can struggle to want to be intimate with partners because they're fearful of, maybe the way they'll be perceived by their partner. It also can lead to all sorts, like a host of other disorders like gender dysphoria, eating disorders, anxiety, depression, the whole can of worms, y'all. So please take care of yourself. And the one thing, it can keep you in this shame loop, y'all. And the difference between shame and guilt is that, shame is very like, it's kind of taking it on as truth of, I am bad. Whereas guilt is a little bit more productive. It says I did something bad, so one is more like taking ownership of it and like identifying with it. And another one, guilt, is more productive. It's accepting it as it is, but also not worsening it. So to get out of that shame loop, there's different things you can do, which I'm going to share after I share my personal story about what happened recently. And we're going to try and get through without crying. I cried my tears yesterday. And today I'm feeling a little bit better. It is still like sensitive enough to where I would really appreciate it that if anyone who did leave a comment who on my YouTube or on my Spotify, you can leave reviews. Yeah, you can leave reviews on Apple Podcasts as well. Keep it constructive, keep it kind. I would really appreciate it because I'm a real human with real feelings, even though some of you maybe don't know me personally. So please keep it kind. So I won't name names, as I never do, but I work for a clinic and they do really, really cute social media posts. They've been trying to like up their social media game. And this is like by no means like any person's fault. Like I don't blame anyone for it. But they did this, they had this cute idea where they were going to make this post that was like an AI generated little action figure of the different people who worked there. And when I went to go look at mine, it was just so, I just was like in awe. I was like, wow, is this how people perceive me? Does my face look like that? Does my body look like that? Does my skin look like that? And I'm just going in a spiral of all these different things. And, I did ask them to take the post down because it was really affecting my mental. And I started to cry. I was on my lunch break when I looked at it and I started crying. And I went to go talk to one of my coworkers, and she was exactly what I needed in that moment. I needed a friend to talk to who also happens to be a very good therapist. And it was really helpful. And she told me some things that really stuck with me that, I've also said to clients before, but the saying, doctors are the worst patients. And hearing it from another person just really helped me. And one thing she said was, we don't get to choose what triggers us. Because something that I kept saying, and when I was like, after experiencing this, was it feels so stupid. Like, this is such a stupid thing to get upset about. Because it was cute. Like, the idea was cute. And I I loved that, and I saw everyone else's and I was like, they're so cute. Like, these are perfect. It comes with like little like trinkets next to them about like who they are and all that good stuff. But I just was looking at mine and I was like, oh my gosh. And like, again, this is AI generated. AI just did me really dirty. And, I asked like one of the people if they could take it down off of social media, and they did. Of course, everyone there is so kind and so sweet, and I love where I work, and it's a really cute idea, and I would love to be a part of future like social media things, but that's just something that I have struggled with, and I was crying and I was breaking down, and I went to go talk to my coworker friend, and they were very helpful, reassuring, and they told me that, we don't get to pick what triggers us, because even though I kept saying that this is stupid, it's not stupid. if it's affecting me, then that's like reason enough for it to be important. And that there are so many contributing factors. So let me just continue to paint this picture for you all. I am also on my menstrual cycle. So I'm already feeling bloated, gross, greasy, smelly, like all these things. And just, seeing that, I'm also feeling very emotional. And, after seeing that, I was like, oh my God. And that just kind of was my tipping point over the edge. And I just kind of went down that spiral of this, how people view me. And then I started catastrophizing. And it was also my lunch break, like I mentioned. And I was looking at my food and I'm like, I don't even want to eat right now. Like I need to not eat, and I was starting to it was crazy. Like I was brought back to my high school days and my early college days of like, oh my God, I can't eat. Like I shouldn't be eating right now. And I was just brought to that mental state. And it has been so long. Like I told you guys at the start of this episode, I thought I had worked through all of this. I thought that I had processed it and that I had, progress isn't linear. So like, I don't want to say necessarily overcome, but it has been years since I have felt this way. And it was a huge reality check because it just brought me down so low and I caught it. That's one of the things I tell you all the time when you're working on yourself is recognition that you're doing it is one of the most important things to start with. And I recognized it and I was like, girl, like this is an unhealthy. You need to eat. You need to go talk to somebody about this. Because I was asking myself, I'm like, what do you need right now? And I was like, I just need to talk to somebody. And so I went to go do that. I sought that out for myself and I talked to someone. And then after talking, I felt better and I finished my food. Because we need to eat. That's not an option, guys. We need to nourish ourselves. Otherwise, that's going to make things a lot worse for us. So that's what happened. And I have been feeling a lot better since that happened. I'm on my period still, so that's probably contributing to some of the emotional stuff of, what's keeping me stuck in it. But that's my story of the recent stuff that's happened. There's a lot from my past that, I don't know if I feel fully comfortable sharing today, but if this is something people admire and you would like to hear more about my personal journey on this, I would love to go just on a deep dive about my personal background with it. But I did share a little bit about some of the stuff my sister had done and this recent episode that just kind of brought me back and triggered me into that moment. So now that we've discussed all of those things and my story, let's talk about ways that we can heal and, rebuild our self-perception. And the first thing right off the bat is learning not to love your body, but to accept it. Because let's be so for real, everyone. There are days when you just can't bring yourself to necessarily love something, right? For example, one of the things that I have often struggled with is my skin and my acne, and I have it's definitely better now, but I remember when I first went to my dermatologist, I broke down and I started crying in the office, and that was 3 years ago because it was one of my biggest insecurities, and she had told me that I likely will never fully heal from my acne scars, and that was really hard to hear. And so I don't necessarily love my acne, but I've learned to accept it. I've learned to accept that, this is here. This is not something that's going to be going away. So let's learn to accept it for what it is. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it, but I can accept it, because there's going to be days like that. And also trying to challenge those negative thoughts. The distorted thinking is probably the number one thing I hear when people are talking about this negative body image, and probably one of the biggest things I also go through. The getting into that catastrophizing mindset, getting on yourself of like, I should be doing this or shouldn't be doing that. Just really, really negative thinking. We need to challenge those distorted thoughts, y'all. Like we have to. And how you start is you recognize the thought and you're like, whoa, stop, y'all. Like, stop yourself and recognize it. Like, that was distorted thinking. Like, that was really negative. And look at the facts. What facts do you have to back this up? Like, has your partner ever told you that, oh, you're too, like, big to be loved, or, oh, your acne is hideous and I can't love you, you know, things like that? Has, you know, have you ever, like, is it something you can control? Maybe. So some things you just can't control. If it was like genetic, right? Like your nose. Noses are a big one for people. If it's genetic, you can't control how, like, your nose looks, right? And, you know, there are, you know, debate of, like, you can, like, there are things in your control you can do to, you know, treat and to work on the parts of yourself that you don't love. You know, for example, if you're not happy with your body weight or maybe like your muscle mass, you can go to the gym and you can do strength training to build muscle. You can do cardio to maybe lose body fat. You can do all those things. And you can, like my skin, I can go to the dermatologist and take my medication to try and clear it up. There are things you can do. However, it's deeply rooted. It's more rooted than just a simple, like, oh, let's just do these things to try and fix them. You know, it is a mental and emotional game that you have to challenge within yourself. So there is that work that needs to be put in addition to taking control of practical, tactical things that you can do, such as like going to the gym, going to a dermatologist, doing those things. It also would be a good idea to kind of get curated with your social media feed. I know for me, if I've struggled, like these are some things I've started to do. I've started to follow people on social media who look more like me, who have my body shape, who have my hairstyle, who have acne issues. You know, if you're a person of color, following people who are people of color as well, you know, different things like that. You can do so much that can help curate your feed so that you're getting people who look like you so you don't feel so alone in the world. Because let's be honest, if we're continuously like looking at people where it's like, oh, I would love to be like that, that can be nice, right? And that can be like almost motivation, if you know what I mean. There are some social media influencers that I follow because they give me that motivation to, you know, get movement, to maybe eat better and different things like that. But it is not always great if that's consistently what you're getting and you're not getting people on your social media who look more like you. With that being said, you can also unfollow people who maybe are harmful to your mental health. If there's a person, even if they're not like doing anything bad, you know, sometimes our brain just likes to play those tricks on us. And if it's better for you just to unfollow that person while you're figuring it out, do it. So curate your social media. I would also say set boundaries with people who are not good for your mental health either. So if you do have people in your life who are making these comments on your body, who are pointing out these flaws, set boundaries with them. Tell them like, hey, it's really not okay with me when you're making these comments on my body or my appearance. And if you continue to do that, I'm going to have to cut you out of my life. Like, I can't do this anymore. You know, so you can set those boundaries. You have every right to do that. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful. And, you know, at the end of the day, I would just say seek out, start with maybe books, podcasts if you want. Go to like support groups, go to individual therapy, different things like that. There's a lot of resources out there in the world that can be really good for you. You just have to actively seek that out. So yeah, that's really what I have for you all today. I just kind of want to end on a little bit of a reminder for you all is that you are more than just your body. You are more than just your appearance. Your worth is not determined by your looks. Your worth is not determined by your looks. And if anyone, whether it's yourself or it's other people in your life, are telling you otherwise, show me where they are, and I will come talk to them on your behalf. Because it's just not true. It's just not true. So I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. And let me know if you had any like thoughts about today. If you have any questions, tell me what you liked about this episode. And yeah, just maybe be kind down in the comments. I kind of want to start this new thing where I see who has made it this far in the episode. So if you made it this far, please comment down below an emoji. So I'm going to tell you an emoji to comment at the end of every episode. I don't know if anyone listens to Leo Skeppy on his podcast, Aware and Aggravated. I love him, love his podcast, and he does this, so I'm getting inspiration from him. But comment down below let's do a rainbow. So comment down below for a rainbow. It's also the end of June, so happy Pride, y'all. So let's do a rainbow. Comment that down below if you made it this far. So thanks so much for listening, everyone. I'm gonna have all of my like socials linked down below if you want to get connected with me on that. But until next week, embrace the chaos and find the beauty. Bye.